You have just tuned into the best drifting podcast with your hosts, Greg Merriman and Eiji Wakamatsu. Welcome to
Episode 6 of the Clutch Kick. We've actually made it this far in, and we've done it every week so far, which I'm actually kind of impressed with. I like how what you do is nod.
I know. I did that on purpose just to put you off a little bit.
Oh, okay. That's all right then.
Okay.
Trust the Japanese guys the guy to bow at me rather than talk to me. So episode 6, we have been debating what our topic should be for today's episode, and this is one that I think will get Eiji a little bit more riled up. But we want.
What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about what is drifting, and Eiji has a really strong belief on this one, and
yeah,
I'm sure.
I think because this is in reference to some other styles of drifting or formats. I'm not too sure what to call it.
Yeah, and I guess because it is I guess it's not fairly new anymore. We're probably a good 15 to 20 years into what modern drifting is, but a lot of people have had their take on it and sort of run with their own version of what drifting actually is.
I know you want me to say something, but okay, so where to start? Because you're the new person, you're
new to driving, not new to the scene.
Yeah.
But I guess, as an observer.
You haven't watched Initial D.
No, I have not watched Initial D, and I am absolutely copping it tonight for not watching Initial D.
That's right. So you have to watch the first season before you go to bed.
I'm not going to watch it before I have to go to bed. I have to be up way too early, but I will probably try and get it and view it legally while driving to Queensland Matsuri next weekend.
That's too late. That's way too late. Like, you're so behind the 8 ball. This is why your drifting skill is so low. Because you haven't watched this. That's like the minimum requirement is to watch Initial D season.
But 1. I know there's.
No, you don't know anything. You haven't watched
a Torreno or whatever you want to pronounce it.
But you can't pronounce Ebishu. This is why you can't pronounce the other word I've forgotten about. So you've got away with that one. This is why you only just qualify in events. Like, after you watch that, you're going to drive so much better.
What? There's Japanese guy, A86, tofu, and a windy road. That's it. That's all I need to know.
No.
That's all I need.
You completely missed the point. So that's why we need to educate you about drifting.
Well, I guess you should educate me about what drifting is then.
I'm just trying to figure out how to start. Usually, I would start in a response to someone saying that something is like.
Okay, so so back to, I guess, your understanding of where drifting originated from.
The modern drifting you're talking about, because
the
way I see it is drifting came from motorsports, so that would be things like rally, circuit, whatever, blah blah blah. All that stuff all had some part of drifting. So when people say when they're grip drivers and they do circuit and they don't drift at all, that's a complete lie, because in circuit driving, in grip, in rally, they all do drifting. It's different though. So the drifting that we do is more like a show, a display, to say that this is how good we are in a way. How do I explain? So it's the focus is on drifting. So it's the amount of speed, angle, and flare.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between motorsports, like grip. Time attack. They still do drifting. So all 4 wheels will be sliding when they're going around the corner. They'll just have their foot. They'll just have relatively low angle because it's not for show, it's for speed. But for absolute speed. Sorry. Whereas with drifting, it is fast still, but it's also a show, and that's
Yeah, yeah, and I guess you're looking to want to keep the car as balanced and as on as much angle as possible. Where when you're coming out of a corner and all wheels are sliding, or even just rear wheels are sliding for some cars, they're looking in circuit racing or rally. They are looking for that slingshot towards the next corner,
that's right.
not purposely looking to slide the car. Well, they
No.
might be
Well, it's
intentionally sliding the
intentional,
car,
but that's for
not trying to
speed. Yeah.
yeah, and not trying to maintain the slide for longer than is needed.
Yeah. So the focus is different. So drifting is about more about flair and style, I think, to some degree. It's not like absolute, but and other things are more about time. So there's a focus on time.
Well, there's more of a so you're saying one's about the style and one's more about the purpose. Where like in its application.
Yes.
I mean more in its application.
Yes. Yeah. So that's why I think people that say they're just grip drivers and they don't do drifting, they will do drifting. It's just so small that, or they're not very good and they can't drive very well anyway. So you'll see really good drivers, they'll drift. They'll get in the car and drift fine because they know what to do. They have an idea of it. They have the skill, experience, everything. So they'll be able to do it. You just have to give them a little bit of guidance to say this is more about flair or angle and fluidity rather than trying to get from one point to the next point as fast as possible. So that's one thing. And then it moved on to so there was some sort of period which people, I tend to agree, was in Japan. They started there's a culture to where this thing was like really cool, and that's why they started having events or things on the street and competitions just about drifting. And you look at that stuff, the old footage, because I've seen DVDs from I think 1990s where they had drift comps, and they're pretty simple. They're not very involved. It's usually just one corner and then a straight and another corner, but the straight isn't very long. So if you get into that competition these days, you would definitely have to link the straights as well. But from my understanding, all they had to do was the corner. The other funny thing was they had to stick the hand out the window before they started, as if like gymnastics or something, where they have to. It was funny, but that's what they did.
Acknowledge the fact that the run's about to start. Like, I'm good to go.
Yep.
Be ready for me.
Yeah, and so, and then it went from there. From that, so I guess the Japanese start of the drifting culture is spread out as that's the culture, and then it sort of, I think, it got skewed. And
but I guess for it to start on the street, all motorsport in some way, shape, or form started as a street event. It just came down to what influenced that area at the time. Like, America has a huge drag racing culture on the street, as well as the fact that they had NASCAR originated on the street. So
yeah, they were moonshine cars, weren't they?
Yeah, and then drag cars were just point A to point B racing. So two different sports sort of born out of the same country, but different cultures influenced the two different styles of racing. And then, in Australia, our burnout culture, rather than it being American style, sit on the spot, sitting on the brake, touching the brake is sort of frowned upon. So I guess it really does. And I guess Europe, you look at a lot more rally, and that would have originated as people just taking cars out and going crazy in the forests and things like that. So I guess all motorsport at some point has come from not necessarily an illegal, but a recreational form of what is now, in a lot of ways, professional sport.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, most of even Formula One was on closed roads, I'm pretty sure, and it was manufacturers doing that for bragging rights, or teams, or something like that. So, but yeah, getting back to drifting.
Yeah. So
Once I left Japan, I think it got a bit skewed, and that's what I'm not really agreeing with.
yeah. So your understanding, or what is your, you have a really strong belief about what the fundamentals of drifting is and what it means. What are they?
So I'm pretty sure I explained this in one of the videos before.
I still can't remember if that was the one we didn't air though.
Okay, it was the best example and the easiest to understand is I think the T-shirts mainly, but they might have posters or other things that Team Orange produce. So it's very simple. It was a U-shaped sort of course, and they've drawn a line down the middle. And so if you were a car to go through this U-turn drifting, the first half or the entry is where you drift, and when you come out is just a power slide. So that's very simple. It doesn't mean that at the apex of every corner is not drifting, because this is very simplified. So that's why I'm saying that this could it needs to be, when I talk about this, it needs to be clear that this is being very simplistic and general. So just so it doesn't get skewed. So if I say it's if the first half is a drift and the second half is power slide, then it's absolute, which is not correct. It's what you do that makes it a drift or a power slide. And these days, I think a lot of people perceive the power slide as drifting.
And do you so?
That's the easy part, I would say. I wouldn't say it's, sorry, not the easy, it's the easier part. Because the first half, the entry where you drive in, is it's kind of a place where you don't have any control. So the way I explain it to people, and I think I've explained it before, is like throwing a ball. So if it's pitchers, throwing it to the catcher. Just imagine you're setting up your car, which is the ball, and you're throwing the ball, and so that in relation to be throwing the car. So you've put all your energy into throwing the ball, and you want to try and put a spin on it or whatever, and you've also directed the ball towards the catcher, which is the the corner type of thing. So you have to do everything before the ball leaves your hand, and then you have an area between when you let go of it and when the catcher catches it. That'd be what the Team Orange guys call the fly zone. And so this is where you display all your skill of setting up the speed, the trajectory, I guess, or the angle, and you sort of spin you put on the ball. It's all set up before it leaves your hand, and that's the coolest part, because you've got you're so skilled that once you let go, once you throw the car down into that entry or the drift, then you'll make it and you'll catch it and continue on, that type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you mean by that. But I think for people who haven't pushed themselves super hard, that understanding is probably at this stage would be something hard to understand. My first Wakefield day going into short course there, I'd never grabbed third gear in my life, second gear warrior, as I always say. And to go into that corner as hard and as fast as I was willing to push myself, and there was that, I guess what you're calling the fly zone, for me is the poo my pants zone, where when you don't have a huge amount of skill, like I didn't and like I still don't, it's a huge question mark over my head whether or not I'm actually gonna to pull up in time or make the corner or whatever. So I completely understand that part of it. But a lot of people also, out of pure safety and self-preservation, will hang back almost from that zone. So I guess that zone still exists, but it's much shorter.
Yeah, that's fine. Like when you start, it's probably going to be very narrow. So you're going to be throwing like even when you're throwing a ball to a catcher, you would probably start. As a child, you would probably only be a meter or two away, and you just sort of throw the ball, and you just try and get it there. But then as you get bigger, more skilled, like stronger, then you would stand further back. You'd throw it faster, harder, something. That's the cool part of drifting, is not so much after that fly zone. I'm not saying that there's no skill after that, but it's less and it's not as cool.
Yeah, so your biggest thing, I guess, about drifting is the entry.
Yes, I think everyone knows that.
Yeah. So, and I guess for me, I agree with that. My favorite part is not knowing if I'm going to make the first corner. Last year at Calder Park, I didn't know
if you're going to make the corner.
I had no idea. I just went in as fast. I just went in as fast and as hard as I could every run. So a few times I sort of made it, and other times I didn't. Tasmania last year was a similar situation, but I guess for some, and I guess I can relate it back to DCA the other weekend. We were told to potentially back off a little bit on entry to have the car settled in the right place for where we needed it to make it through the course. Is that something you sort of agree with, or would you be more wanting people to push and be full throttle the whole way to entry?
I think with that point, that was to do with the chase car. So, and also it might have been after watching Tom, what's his last name?
Hemmings,
yeah, fly very far, of course.
Yeah, a couple of a wheel off over the crest, and then maintaining a whole lot of speed over the hill.
So I think it was more of a safety warning rather than anything like that. Because in my car, you just go first, second, third as fast as you can, and try and get as much speed as you can to get up and over that crest. If you try doing second, you don't have enough speed. So
yeah, I was the same.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's not entirely black and white. So you kind of need to assess each one as it is. And so with judging, we would sort of specify this is weighted more. This is where you need to do your cool stuff. And so I don't think it was more of a safety thing that would be there's a couple of techniques you can do, and that's one of the things is you could back off, but you didn't have to. Like I never backed off. I was first, second, third kick, and I was kick left, kick right, and I was over.
Yeah.
And so,
but I guess not even. I guess I shouldn't ask you from your judging point of view, even from a personal style point of view. Is that the way you would attack basically any drift course? Always
fast.
as much run up as you can, as you're given, as fast as you can go.
That's the idea. That's why people get more power. It's not for more smoke. It's for more speed.
Yeah.
But with comps, especially it's hard to say because it shouldn't. Yeah, it's difficult because we kind of say some cars in our competition, they're a bit slower, so it doesn't create that much of a gap, and we do take that into consideration. But we don't want a drag race we don't want people to see a drag set of lights and have to launch it. They can just push off and then go. That's what we're trying to say. It's not a race. We want a battle. So,
I guess even if you don't talk necessarily a competition point of view, but if you're setting yourself up right for a good tandem run or a good group run just for fun, you're still gonna. Off the line, you sort of give each other whatever lead in you need, and then from once you know that setup is right, your full throttle as long as possible before you do your entry. So rather than waiting until
you
you're
want
up
to be at that speed, yeah.
Yeah, rather than waiting till you like getting up to that speed as quickly as possible and then coasting it,
No.
say for Wakefield short course, your optimum entry speed is 100 kilometers an hour, and rather than you've got a 500-meter run up, rather than going first, second, third, fourth, I'm at 100 off throttle for 200 meters, just keep maintaining that speed and big throw. You would rather take the time with whoever you're with, and then once you know that you're going to be set up and ready to go, then you punch it as hard and as fast as you can, so that way your entry is on throttle.
Well, that comes down to how cool it would look. So if you're by yourself, you would want to just go flat out. Doesn't matter. So when we're out by ourselves doing short course, we'll come out of that last corner as fast as possible and get to fourth gear and then go into the short course. So because it looks cool, because you're going so fast, and that's the idea of it. So you should be, the faster you are, the cooler it is. But yeah, it's hard to say because it doesn't work for competitions though.
Yeah, of course. Because, well, it's way less predictable too. Yeah, whenever you set yourself up in that sort of situation where you're coming out of another corner and you just don't know if you're going to be allowed to maintain that speed, it's hard to hit the same markers that you're looking for in competition to be super clean and super consistent.
Yeah, well, we don't want power to be the factor, and we also want, so with competitions we don't want the cars to be separate because it doesn't look as cool. Because it has to look cool. Drifting is about looking cool. And it doesn't have to be, the set way of being cool isn't just because you have a Fast and Furious style car. There is different ways of looking cool. But with competitions, the cool thing is the guys going as fast as possible together, not as fast as possible separate. Because you can still judge that. That's fine. It's just the gap is when they leave, and then one car's got 1,000 horsepower, the other one's got 100. Then you know there's going to be a 20-meter gap, and so you just maintain that gap. And if they can maintain that gap, then it's good because 100 horsepower versus 1,000, it's pretty difficult. But they should both be able to do the course.
Yeah, and I guess you'd have a pretty good example. I wasn't there for it, but the Mitch versus Stewie battle, is that right at Raleigh?
Yeah. So
but
they put
the
on
way
a good
that
show.
the way they set themselves up, to me, from what I've seen, is what I would be more talking about. If you want to go into detail more about that.
Yeah, that was so. With that occasion, so that was DC at Rayleigh. We only run the corner after the pit straight. I think that's what you call it on Rayleigh. So it's when you start to go uphill and turn right, and then you'll go downhill. There's a little kink, and then it's right left. So we will do from the kink down to the right left, and that's where the course ends. So the start line is on the other side as per normal. We would send both cars. They could drift if they wanted to, but they didn't have to, and then they'd have to come side by side onto the corner just past the straight. From there, that's when the judging starts, and then at that point, with Mitch and Stewie, I think Mitch had his Celica, which I'm not too sure how much power he had.
It would have been I think it would have been like maybe 80 to 100 horsepower, if even that.
And I think Stewie had about 300 or 350 horsepower, so it's quite a big difference. But the way they did it was, because they wanted to put a good show on, Stewie let Mitch in front, and then just as they approached the judging section, they switched places, so then they could be in their correct positions. So that would give Mitch the best opportunity of chasing. So that was cool. So when they actually came to the judge section, Mitch had Stewie had just overtaken Mitch, and they both entered the kink and into the right left, and they were able to keep together.
Yeah. So how much of a gap was Stewie giving Mitch. So Mitch is supposed to be in a
Mitch,
traditional
Mitch is meant to be behind.
competition
Yeah.
would normally be behind or side by side,
Yes.
giving the lead car some room to get in front.
Yep.
But in this situation, from what I've seen, Stewie gave Mitch a huge lead up so that they could both be full throttle at that moment of initiation.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. So Mitch was very far in front of Stewie. I don't know how far. Um, and they were in the wrong position. So as a lead car, you should be in front, but they'd swap places,
Yeah.
and they would switch places again just before the judge section.
And I guess that situation, say Stewie had shown up with a V8 powered car, or I guess
Yeah,
a slightly more torquey motor, he could have hung back at Mitch's speed, say, and still gone side by side. But I think his car that was one of his RB20 cars. So for him to get enough speed and enough throw for that car, he would have needed to be up on boost, which would mean being on throttle well and truly before he entered that corner. Where, with the change to people looking for more torquey setups to help mistake recovery, I guess I call it, you can get away with being way lower down in the rev range and being able to bag it up and get it going. Where even for me down at DCA on the weekend, being stuck with a smaller turbo SR20, I need to be on boost to have anything. If it falls off boost, I'm basically driving with no power. So for me, I really need to be up on it, where following a few guys with slightly bigger motors who are able to sort of get off power and then able to bag it up really easy over the hill, where if I was trying to kick third, the car I was driving would just snap straight and not make it over the crest at that corner, at that course. And I guess that's a good example for me of needing to be sort of in that optimum position revs wise to be able to complete the course.
Yeah. So that was So that's
So I
how
get
that situation went down. But that's one out of a lot of. It's like you can't be 100% set.
Oh
So,
yeah, 100%.
I just need to stress that.
Yeah, and DCA has a different sort of culture when it comes to competition compared to your more mainstream traditional events, and I guess even the changing face of traditional events. And I guess I will stir you up now with that one.
Okay.
So when
I'm not
we
too
talk
sure
about,
if I've actually explained enough about drifting, but what I said before was very simplistic. So
no, I think you've covered it well. And I think seeing the
I
negative,
feel I
seeing
haven't.
what. Okay, is there more stuff that you want to
No, it's
go
all
through?
right. We'll keep going because otherwise it'll get too long. Because I can talk about it for many hours.
Many
About
days, many years.
Yeah. Well, I keep bringing it up in other conversations off this show. So, and I'm sure other people have heard about it.
Yeah. So things like Formula D, modern D1, I guess even the high tech series here, D1NZ, IDC with big horsepower cars, massive angle, big semi slicks, has sort of changed the face of what is deemed as drifting compared to what you spoke about earlier, your traditional either illegal toge style driving,
I
or
wouldn't say that. I'd say it's what's been popularized. Either I'm not too sure, but for one, like I blame FD for promoting bad drifting. So even how do I explain it? So the idea of FD. So when you look at it, FD looks like all power slide, and there's no drifting areas really. Like it's very well, there is, but it's very small. there's not really anything cool. It's just a smoke show. I mean, there is skill in that. I'm not saying that there's no skill in power sliding or getting close to someone, but having one huge arc for I don't know how many hundreds of meters, just doing a banked sort of burnout and then switching and then going another banked run it's kind of boring. All they're doing is burning tires. It's not really. It's not drifting. It's just a power slide. And I'm not. I want to say. I keep saying it's a burnout, but burnout in Australia, the competitions here are different to the ones in America. The ones here, the burnout drivers actually have skill as well because they have a set of requirements. They need to. It's almost like the way drifting should be. So they have to cover a certain area. They have to go for a certain amount of time. Their tip-ins and how fast they whip, their proximity to the edges of the burnout pad are all counted, and that's what it's. So saying it's a burnout, saying what FD do burnout would be wrong because there is a different type of there is a skill there in doing burnouts, whereas power sliding I believe is less skill than doing drifting.
Yeah, so I guess what would your definition of a power slide be? I guess my definition of a power slide would and I enjoy watching FD compared to you who doesn't really enjoy FD. So
yeah,
for me, but for me, a power slide is where, and I agree that there is a lot of power sliding within FD, but for me, a power slide is where you've got a lot more grip and power to push the car along, and you're not at that edge of only just having enough grip to maintain the slide and end up in a funny place. You're able to really drive through the course under almost complete control because the car is so settled and so gripped up, and you've got enough power to keep turning the tires that once the car's actually sliding and you've initiated, you're almost driving the car like you'd drive a normal car. You're just applying throttle and applying steering, and then you're able just to hold on almost for the ride. Where when you're talking your big entries at, I guess D1 does it at Suzuka, where what are they entering at? Like well over 200 kilometers an hour, and they just do one big corner, but they absolutely
course. That's the latest, the one they did the most recent. Are they still running?
I'm not sure, but where they used to do Suzuka East, and they used to just big speed down the front straight at Suzuka, and then just big flick entry into turn one, and sort of almost try and maintain to turn two.
Yeah.
But I guess that's how they judge. They just do that one corner, but huge risk and huge reward if you actually make that corner. And that's, I guess, your flight. There's a lot of your flight zone in that sort of style. Fly zone. Whereas I guess a track like an Irwindale or
they can have those zones. You know that Matt, which was the one that was it Orlando? No, it's
Atlanta.
Yeah, so that
down the hill.
Yeah, down the hill. You could do a drift in there, and Mad Mike has actually done drifting in there and looked cool, but he got absolutely smashed for doing that because it wasn't a power slide.
And there's been a few situations like that. There were guys throwing backies and things like that into that corner in previous years, but
when it's actually backies.
No, there was actually a couple of backies. One of the guys who drove a Conrad Grinwald, who used to be in a Chevy Camaro, did a huge backward entry there during qualifying. And yeah, they were 1 year before they had put rules in about backies. They sort of rewarded him for it, and then he came back the following year and did it, and they sort of slammed him on it. But I guess I agree in some ways when you're talking a 90-degree entry into a corner like that. I don't mean 90 degrees with the car perpendicular to the side of the road. I'm talking the corner itself that you're entering is a 90-degree corner. It almost makes it impossible for a chase car to be able to maintain any form of proximity or emulation when a car is that far backwards, because then you need the rear of your car further forward than their car, and you're almost behind them on entry into that corner.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's Yeah, the back is another thing. So just because the car's backwards doesn't mean that it's actually fluid. So I know that's one thing that we keep talking to Connor about because he keeps saying he does backwards entries, but all he does is the back of the car does come around, but then he has to change his angle. So he doesn't maintain an angle around the corner. He just comes in because it's front wheel drive. The back can come out, just puts his foot down. It winds off angle, but at one point through the straight, his the back of the car is further forward than the front of his car, but then he has to switch it back around to actually make the corner. That's not a backy. Well, it is backwards, but you don't actually maintain through the corner. You don't actually make it through the corner, maintain that angle.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So, but I guess, do you think that the tracks and the facilities that different countries, different places have on offer have impacted what has been, I guess, the changing face of drifting to this power sliding being a little bit more mainstream than your traditional big throw style drifting?
The tracks.
Yeah. Do you
the
think
availability?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Like I guess
I think I can understand there's restrictions with the courses, but you could actually change because the Road Atlanta definitely you can do drifting there, but they just don't. What was the word? They don't promote reward. They don't reward doing that. Yeah. So if you do their style, I think it's what, and yeah, I don't even know why it's actually like that, but yeah, it just seems so strange that why they don't allow.
Yeah,
drifting.
I think I have to disagree with you on some points with the Road Atlanta thing. I think more and more over the years that the way they use Road Atlanta has gotten better and more traditional, but I think the impact from a few more sort of guys who have grown up learning to drift rather than coming from other forms of motorsport coming through, plus a lot more international guys coming through who have come from a more, I guess, non-Americanized version of drifting, have come into the sport, which has changed slightly their criteria when it comes to that sort of thing. But when you've got a calendar of 7 events and I think four of those events are on oval tracks, you sort of...
I don't really watch FD. I watch it occasionally if it's on when I have time or when it's on at an appropriate time, then I'll watch it. But otherwise, it's... And yeah, it needs to be streaming somewhere, I think, because I don't watch TV. I think is it on TV here?
No.
Okay.
We just have the live stream.
Yeah, so I have to watch the live stream. But that's I don't know with those courses. With the courses in Australia, you can put drift sections into there, so the fly zones, I guess, just to make it easy to understand. But I'm not saying that that's the only sort of thing. Like it's too easy for you to take what I've just said so simplistically and then run away with it. It's there's so many aspects to it in each course that you can actually set up to make it cool. So the switching is another cool thing, because another thing is some of the switching that people do. It's when they just do the sort of power on sort of one direction and then they slowly change direction, slowly switch to the other side. That's okay, but if you come in and then you flick instantly, that's you've loaded up the car or you've steered or you've done something to make it move very awkwardly, and it's cool. Like it's so it's just so much more. There's so much more impact.
Yeah, and I guess I understand where you're coming from with that one. A good example of something like that I've seen in person was watching Daigo at the final of 2013 FD season at Irwindale. I got to be there and watch it. And when you go to your more Americanized version, a lot of the guys through that they'd come through the big bowl and then do the switchback, and most of them would be heavily on throttle, not a huge amount of angle, and sort of just trying to drive out towards the second inner bowl. But Daigo managed to put a couple of chase cars in the fence behind him because he would stay on throttle a little bit longer than everybody else through that inside clip, really load up the angle, and then snap the car back as hard and as fast as he could, and then sort of hold on, wait for the ride, and then dump the clutch just as he was going to get onto the wall, and then drive away from the wall. And that put a lot of the chase guys off because they emulated him and carried all that speed through that switchback clip that they hadn't been doing through the rest of their runs. And then when they went to switch back, realized, holy crap, the wall's coming a whole lot faster than I was expecting. And a whole bunch of cars ended up on that inside fence and a lot of people over there got upset thinking that it was Daigo playing funky games. And I guess in some ways he was playing funky games, but there was another, and now that, back to the point that you had made, that reminded me that, yeah, those fly zones sort of happen throughout the course as well. When you are that little bit more aggressive like that, and you sort of load up the car and really throw it back hard into the next zone.
Yeah.
So I guess there's an entry to every corner. Every time there's a transition, there's a new entry point. I guess even if the corner's maintaining the same direction but changing radius, or as long as it's a tightening radius, I guess there's a new entry point to that corner.
Yeah, it's very dynamic.
Yeah, and I guess
then,
I'm
you can kind of join two corners together or leave them separate. There's so many things, like that's why I'm saying it's really not specific and set, and that's why drifting as it is now is so skewed, because I think you sent me a good video last night about street drifting, and so it was a YouTube video titled what was the title? It was like street drifting and
Street Drifters Take Over Public Intersection or something.
Yeah, and all they were doing is they're just doing doughies and sort of static burnouts, and that was it. And that was only for a part of the video. I didn't actually watch the entire thing.
No, I don't watch most of that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lead up as well because it's a 10-minute video. I kind of click through it, and so that's not drifting. That's just burnouts, and that's not even it's not even burnouts in a burnout competition in Australia. That's like purely no skill. That's fry tire burnouts kind of thing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even put it in the burnout box necessarily, because it's not like it's. Yeah. They were like, it's people literally maintaining a second gear donut almost around a cone.
I just want, it is a burnout, but I just don't want to take away from the competition burnout guys here, because I've seen a competition burnout guy at a drift event, and he was really good. That's why I don't want to take away from the comp guys here where they have.
Well, and that's why I don't really want to call it even a burnout as such. Like, to me, a burnout is full throttle, full smoke. And then just trying to balance the way you steer the car to get it where you want it to be. That to me is what a proper burnout is, not just sitting on the brake or modulating the throttle heavily to maintain a slide. That's good car control, but I wouldn't put it in the drifting box, and I wouldn't necessarily put it in the burnout box. I would, almost put it in I'd want to put it in the hoon box, because it's not something anybody with good car control can do that. I don't think it takes a huge amount of skill to do a second gear, maintain a slide.
Yeah,
anyone
could do what they were doing, because all they did was they just sort of
balance the car around a donut. Yeah, I think
mashed their foot and sort of kind of steered, because they were a little bit. What I saw was a bit awkward, but like they kind of done it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. That's what I don't like about it, because that's not drifting. But that's popularized as drifting, but it shouldn't be. It's
and I guess that's I guess it harms the. I guess I shouldn't say purity, but it harms the sport in a lot of ways because it's. I guess it's not giving something the proper label,
Yeah,
and
and
then
that's
it
yeah,
starts to leave a bad taste in people's mouths because that becomes their understanding of it.
that's
Because
right.
normally
Yep,
your understanding is either it will be based around the thing that has the most impact in your life. So if somebody's drifting down at your local intersection or in your local whatever, creating a nuisance,
yep.
you just deem it as that's what it is. So as soon as you hear the word, it just comes with negative connotation straight away.
And that's why it affects us getting access to tracks in Australia, because the people that post that stuff on the internet or even just talk about it as drifting, and then the media runs off with it, or even the media can just label something as drifting when it's not.
Yeah.
And then the public image thinks, oh, this drifting is this type of thing, and all it is recklessness, but it's not. And that's
Yeah.
why it affects us, and that's why I don't like FD, because all that sort of filters down to the reason why we can't get tracks and why
Yeah.
they reject us, because they said we're going to tear up the track. The drifters are doing that, but no, it's. Uh, I can understand there are drift events that are being held where it's quite loose, but that's because of the people. But it's not that it's not drifting. So if a proper drift club or organization runs an event for drifting, then you shouldn't have those issues.
Yeah. And I guess going back to your points about some of that is one of your, from what I understood earlier, is rate to angle and things like that is where you see drifting at its what drifting really is more about how you snap the car around and how you balance the car through those rate to angle type situations and things like that.
Yeah.
And
But it's not only that, because I had to explain this recently to someone else as well. Was, if someone just gets wise fat and they can just, if you get so much steering lock, I'm just going to say 90 degrees just because it's easier and it's easy to imagine. And so if you can get 90 degrees steering lock, then you can essentially drive the car sideways relatively easy, because the front wheels are pointing that way and the back wheels are sort of turning, and the car will just sort of drive sideways. So, but that's another thing with drifting, is you could have, uh, it's not just the rate of angle of that, it's so,
no, I meant rate
yeah,
to angle.
rate to angle, yeah, that sort of thing as well. You need to, it looks cool when, say, you have 30 degrees of lock, but your car has maybe 40 or 50 degrees of angle. So
Yeah, so you're talking about more your slip angle of your front tires and stuff like that, and that's
yeah,
getting super technical. And I think we almost need somebody like a Stewie or a Blake to come on and explain some of that, because that stuff is next
yeah,
level crazy. But again, a lot of that stuff only happens during that flight zone or fly zone,
yeah,
sorry,
that's right, yeah, flight zone.
because you can. Yeah, no
See,
flying through this zone.
there's going to be a Team Gerg
Yeah,
shirt now
flight
with a
zone.
flight zone and,
Um,
and a burnout zone or something like that.
and it's just gonna have the whole way underneath it.
All right, we'll have to try and remember for next time, for the next
Yeah,
shirts.
but I guess those moments of front slip can only come during an entry or during a transition.
Something like that.
Because once,
Yeah, you can do it. No, you can do it in power slide, but could you? Yeah, you should be able to.
yeah, I guess you technically sort of are, but it's not
Yeah, you
ideal. And
can. Yeah, it's no, it's fine. It's under control. But the
yeah,
coolest, like, it's most noticeable in the fly zones.
Yeah. Yeah. Where you've thrown the car. I guess some of Stewie's videos, you can really see it where he's thrown in the car big and the front wheels are just dragging. But your backies and all that sort of stuff, even if you're doing backies with Wisefab, you know, some of James Dean's videos and Jack Shanahan's videos where, you know, those cars are Wisefab cars, but they are...
Yeah, you can see that they're dragging. Yeah.
Yeah, they're dragging it. But that's
you can see how much angle they've got with Wisefab. So that's when you're actually drifting that, then you should be having that crazy angle.
Yeah.
Which is
stupid. But a lot of that is also when you're not able to do that is poor car setup. And I'll say I'm guilty of it. I have a Wisefab car and most of the time I run way too much front grip. And I am getting better at running less front grip because what would happen is if I go to throw the car, the car will just follow the front wheels. Where now that I've started bumping up front tire pressures and getting it to the point where I only just have enough grip in the rear to overcome the front, I found that I can start to throw the car around a little bit more balanced rather than the car just wanting to snap and hold at, you know, the 68 degrees of lock or whatever stupid amount of lock that my car has.
You need balance.
And but I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with these big lock kits is they do overgrip the front and that starts to become part of the style issue.
Yeah.
And I guess that also...
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I've never got a big lock kit. I've never driven a big lock kit.
Well, you need to jump in my car when it's ready. When it's ready before next weekend, or I'm going to start being very upset
for DCA.
It's a touchy subject. We'll speak about it when we speak about it. So, yeah, I guess this whole conversation has been pretty jumbled up, but I guess what it shows me, though, is that there's been so much has led to the changing face of drifting and what has become mainstream, because things like your Wisefab originally were expensive, not many on the shelf, so they were hard to get your hands on. Now they're actually a fairly reasonably priced kit for the amount of gear that you're getting, with the amount of R&D that's gone into them. And a lot of people are just going, hey, easy bolt-on kit, smash it on there, but then don't take the time to actually set it up properly.
Yeah, or they don't drive the car in the way they should.
Or could.
Yeah, so they don't actually... They use the Wisefab too much or something like that. It's...
Yeah.
They rely on it rather than driving with the Wisefab. Doesn't make sense.
No, and even when I did the sub-regs for Super Drift last year, I put in the overuse of angle from a judging point of view, you know, will be punished sort of thing. And that was more, not so much on your entries doing backies or whatever, even though, yeah, it does make it really hard to follow, but was more considering the course we were going to use and knowing what I could do with my car with Wisefab. You can really play havoc with the car behind you, because you can get to that point of angle where the car pushes in funny directions and doesn't follow sort of a traditional line around a corner like any other car would drive around a corner. For those who don't sort of understand it, what sort of happens once you get to a certain amount of steering lock, and I don't know if this is with other kits, but because Wisefab flattens your front tires out on the ground, where a traditional setup sort of, as you go to more steering lock, rolls the tire to the outside, or the outside edge on one tire and the inside edge on the other. Wisefab, as it rotates, tries to maintain as much contact patch on the ground as possible. So as you drive it out onto more and more lock, it gets to a point where rather than driving around on an arc on the corner, it starts to drive almost in a straight line sideways, perpendicular to the car. And you can do some funny things with that. And I can't imagine trying to follow a Wisefab car in a non-Wisefab car in a situation where that car in front is using their Wisefab to do Wisefab things.
Yeah.
Rather than using the the amount of lock that you need to continue the arc through a corner.
Yeah, it gets fairly difficult. Also, without power, I noticed the Wisefab looks really, really boring.
Oh, and it's slow speeds. Like it feels cool from the car, but when you watch it from the outside, it's lame as hell.
Yeah, it looks like a shopping trolley. Like you just push it sideways, and it just sort of slowly works its way around sideways around the corner, and then comes back again and does a switch. It's such a weird, uninspiring thing.
Yeah, when Blake jumped in and drove my car, one of the rounds of Super Drift last year, and it was so poorly set up. Coilovers weren't that great, and
Blake, the other judge.
No, yeah, Patterson, Blake.
Yeah. Team
Marvel Blake that we've spoken about many times. He jumped in mine and drove it, and I watched it, and I was like, man, this thing is so slow and so boring to watch. It just was so not exciting at all. And it had a decent amount of grip, but I don't know, for some reason, it just wanted to keep snapping to angle, and it just looked rubbish, and it was slow. And yeah, when you're in the car, it feels super cool, and the car moves around in funny ways, but to watch it, you're just like, yeah, not so great. But in saying that, that's, to me, again, I love my Wisefab, but I think poor car setup more than Wisefab creating the issues.
How did he drive it? How do you think did he have comments about it?
Yeah, he said it was rubbish. He said feeling the Wisefab was cool, but he said something about it just didn't feel right.
Okay.
But
did
I think
change anything, or did you just leave it?
Have I changed it? Yeah, new coilovers, way softer setup, all that sort of thing.
But that's you haven't driven that yet, or you have?
No, I drove that at Calder, and I drove it for the few laps that I got at Archie but it was wet. I think that's the only driving I did of it. But at Calder, the car was a lot more squatty, a lot more sort of maneuverable, I guess. So that is what I think helps bring the Wisefab alive, rather than the car was super stiff and just sort of sitting at one level, where the old car with the same Wisefab but different coilovers really sort of squatted and helped you drive through corners. So yeah, poor car setup, I think.
Okay, and Blake hasn't driven it since?
No, it hasn't. Well, I've barely driven it since.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, well.
But I guess again, sort of coming back to the point about the Wisefab is that these steering lock kits and things like that have become way more available, way cheaper, and rather than cutting and shutting knuckles in your garage and having welds fall apart, or not having any idea on how to do it yourself, and then having to hope that your mate who's copied the Team Burst cut and shut knuckles perfectly, and my mate's next door neighbour's dog trainer's third cousin has driven on this setup, and it said they were sick. You're getting stuff that is now proven, but you're not getting all of the R&D that even the teams who are using that gear what's the word? Are collecting and then worrying about car setups. Everybody sort of just puts a generic setup in, and then prays it's going to work. And I think that also is leading to a lot of this sort of power sliding type driving, and less sort of throw on entry and throw on during transitions.
Okay. I just okay.
So I guess for me, it's back to the rate to angle sort of thing. So you were talking about sort of the slip angle, but I'm talking when they talk rate to angle. D1 GP now using the DOS system. Rate to angle is one of the big criterias within that system. So basically, rate to angle is, for those playing at home who don't have a huge understanding, is how quickly your car gets to the angle, and then to the angle that it's going to maintain through that corner. So if you're going to maintain your 42 degrees of angle, how quickly you can get to that 42 degrees, and then how well you can maintain that 42 degrees of angle through the electronic judging system in D1 is heavily rewarded. If somebody else, so two cars both achieve and maintain the 42 degrees of angle for the same amount of duration through a corner, if somebody gets there really snappy, really quickly, is going to be hugely rewarded over somebody who takes has a sluggish transition into that amount of angle. And I guess going back to the fly zone, that moment of rate to angle is one of those fly zones.
Yes.
Because you're throwing the car and you're pitching it in, and trying to get it there. It's all about how you've set it up to do that snap rather than driving through that. Well, I guess it's not even a snap, driving through that transition.
Yeah, that's what you said is right. I think I'm not 100%. I don't
about
have that
the
much
DOS
knowledge.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
There are videos.
That's
video option.
That's my understanding.
Video that explains it apparently, which I haven't watched yet. I don't even know which volume that's on. So I'll try and look out for it. Probably it'd be nice to get someone on about the DOS stuff if you know anyone.
Well, I think Alexi, your mate Alexi, Noriaro would be able to give us a little bit of insight on it. But from one of the episodes of Maximum Driftcast that you didn't like all that much, but they sort of go into it after the World Drifting FIA first event. From the understanding is because DOS is the people creating DOS are a company, and that is their product that they're trying to make money out of. They're quite secretive about the way it works out its calculations and does a lot of that stuff and how it comes up with its calculations, which is fair enough.
They're secretive. It doesn't make sense
because there's nothing stopping. I guess the sort of the China effect. If you give everybody your product, somebody's going to copy it.
But that used to be the drift box, didn't it?
I'm not 100% sure. I've never done that.
Or something like, isn't it? That's
yeah.
It's the same company.
Is it though? Because I think I think the DOS system is actually created from a European company rather
than
Logic
or something like that.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I've never done that much research into the back end of that, but yeah,
and
I
guess they modified it or like adjusted it for D1.
Yeah, to suit the style there.
But I don't understand why they're so secretive because it doesn't make sense.
I guess, but
whole bunch of accelerometers and
GPS. But I think how it calculates that stuff is more what they're doing it and how supposedly some drivers, if you position the antenna right on your car, has a big impact on it, and sort of the D1 drivers who have collected a lot of data on that have been able to do it. This is just relayed information, regurgitated.
I heard about that. I don't know directly, but I did hear that sort of rumors. And then there's a switch for the rain, wet and dry, and that makes a big difference as well. So when it's half dry or half wet, you can actually make it benefit you as well if it's in the right setting. Yeah, so I guess we won't go. I don't know.
Yeah, so we won't go into that one too much, but
speculation.
But I know a heavy amount of that is about is rate to angle, and I guess that is one of the cooler parts, and I guess that's a differentiation between what FD sort of rewards and what D1 rewards, but I guess that snap-on transition or snap-on entry in most competitions is just that flare.
Yeah.
Because
drifting is about flare. It's about showing off.
Yeah, but I think those fly zones is the flare.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because like when we're being judged in competition, you guys give us a set of points. We have to hit this zone, hit this zone, hit this zone. How we fill the gaps is up to us. So it's our job.
Specified, yeah. Because
but it's still.
I know in some competitions it's very specific, but
Okay, give it. Okay, so what's an example of a competition and a track or a setup where they've been specific about how they want you to fill the gap between zones?
So this was in Japan when I was at a D1SL event. I'm pretty sure. So they were very specific. That was so.
How long ago was that?
2 years ago.
Okay. Yep.
They don't run
Just,
DOS.
yeah, just for reference more so than anything, so we know sort of in the timeline of drifting where this stuff sort of sits.
Yeah, I'm going to say 2 years ago. It could have been 3 because
Yeah,
all the trips sort of melded, but it shouldn't
yeah,
be
it
any
wasn't.
earlier than that. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like 8 years ago, 10, 15 years ago.
No, and this guy was super specific about exactly how he wanted the cars to drive. And if you didn't do that, then you're penalized. So he said specific points, the amount of angle, and the way the car should be. So as in full accelerator, no handbrake, no foot brake, and then the transition should be done with throttle off. Like, he was very specific. And then at this point, you can touch the brake and no earlier.
But I guess that's the fly zone in that situation is still up to you how hard you want to snap the car.
Yeah, so you've got the amount of,
The rate to angle is still up to your personal skill level and comfort to do it.
Yeah, he did say at the end, though, it's not a quick flick, because at that time, you'd be like buttoning off, so you have to come out sort of smoothly. So you just sort of come out and then switch smoothly. So he was like super specific.
Yeah, but I guess was that done to open up room for the chase car more so than anything?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. It was, so when you were chasing, you could 100% know what the car in front of you is going to do. So if anything, you could actually get closer, because you go, I know they're going to be here, they're going to switch fast here, they're going to be so deep here, and so then you just know where their car's going to be, and they're at that skill level where they can do that. They're just told, this is what you need to do, and they'll just go and do it. And if they don't do it, then they're penalised.
Yeah, I guess the more we speak about it, the more it throws different things that I've heard in my head around. So yesterday I watched the Maximum Drift cast of where 3 guys were speaking to the 2 owners and runners of Formula D.
Yep.
And their biggest thing that they're worried about when they're looking at track layouts and where they run events, yes, they've got all the logistics. They need to have a certain amount of pit area, enough room for spectators, decent facilities, all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to final decision on a track, it has to be what creates the best possible tandem. That's what they're looking for. They want same situation as what you're
doing a power slide. Who cares?
Yeah, no. But even your comments on the D1 street legal thing is the judge was taking away the personal flair of the lead car to open up them for the closest chase possible.
Yes.
And I guess for FD as well, they're setting out their criteria to make it as easy, I guess not as easy as possible, but as open as possible for the chase car to be right up as close as possible to that lead car.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest part. So it's not to sacrifice the drifting. It's within that sort of criteria which has already been set before, but in a way where the chase car, it makes it a very cool battle. So
yeah. So do you think the I guess originally when drift competition started, a lot of people would struggle to even link a course together, and then
definitely.
Then it became
at the start though, like those 90 DVDs, the 90s DVDs that I saw, they wouldn't link 2 corners together, and when someone did, they just thought, wow, it's the best thing ever, and the crowd went wild. I have to show you these videos. They're very old. I think I'll try and remember to bring them so you can watch them.
Yeah.
But I don't want to lend them out because I've had DVDs where I've lent out and they've never come back.
There's some programs you can get so you don't have to lend out DVDs.
What are you talking about?
Well, you can put them on your own personal hard drive so that when your children damage your discs, that you haven't lost what you've entitled and you've paid for.
But I
So,
like the discs. I like having the original.
well, yeah, exactly. But then when your kids scratch them, you don't want them to be destroyed. So, so then I guess it moved into a period where people started making it the whole way through the course.
Yep.
And well, both cars started making it through the course, and this was, I guess, pre-steering mods with a few steering mods starting to come into the picture.
You mean Knuckles and things
Yeah,
like that?
Knuckles, extended tie rods. A lot of that stuff wasn't happening in the 90s, I don't think. A lot of that was
not even in like
early 2000s.
Yeah, even when Team Orange took their cars to Irwindale, I think it was, to America, they didn't have any knuckle mods at all. So whenever that was, it's 2003, 2002?
Yeah, somewhere around the early 2000s. And then I guess so that showed car setup developed without steering mods, and driver skill developed on how to continue and maintain these slides. And then, through the progression of car modifications and people's understanding, we started to get this point where the lead cars were getting more, and I guess both cars were getting more flair and being able to drive away from the chase car or impede the chase car, even with still maintaining the drift but doing all sorts of cool things. But now we've started to dial it back, I guess, in all series around the world to open up for the best possible chase now. Do you think that's impacting the flair of drifting?
I think the flair of drifting has changed. So the comp stuff's got run away with the power slide thing. So I'm less interested in the comps like FD. I don't mind IDC actually, but
really,
I actually don't mind it, but it's not. I say that in the way that I prefer IDC over FD.
Yeah.
But I still.
But it's, it's still not your ideal.
No. So. But then, D1 SL I think I prefer over D1 GP.
Or D1 Pro Light now, or whatever they've called it. I think D1
Lights.
Street League. Yeah, I think because Street Legal, I think, is now.
I think it's Lights with an S.
Yeah, but it's like any of your feeder series and a lot of other forms of motorsport. It's just a scaled down version of the main one. It's not like.
Yeah, but it's quite different from what I've seen. The tracks are different, whereas D1 GP, except for Ebisu, just so you understand.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
They're all fairly big power courses, which you could do drifting on, but it seems like I feel that they're catering towards the Americans or the rest of the world rather than what they used to do, because D1 didn't used to be like that, except for Ebisu, which is still, I think, the best drift course out of the whole D1 series. It's followed by Odaiba. Actually, I really want to go to one of those, but I don't know enough.
Yeah, Odaiba seems like a really slow course, though. I guess they use as much run-up as possible, but from my understanding, it's almost a second gear track. I
really want to see it. I've been to that car park heaps of times, but not with drifting happening.
Yeah.
In other events, it's a very, very popular area. So I want to go.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I guess back to the point on the series are now opening themselves up more for the chase.
Kind of. Yeah. Like I said, I don't really watch FD.
No, but not even just FD, just in general. Like even DCA, for example, the chase car the chase car in a battle used to be the more heavily judged car on a tandem run. But I guess I would say most series in the world now, most mainstream series in the world now, are being more and more harsh on those lead cars for making mistakes or doing funky things to purposely or unintentionally mess up the chase car.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it looks that way. Yes.
But then it also means that in that lead position, you aren't as willing to take risks or be as flary as you may have previously been because of that.
That's up to you, I think. You
Yeah,
could
yes,
do it
yeah,
still.
yes or no, yes or no, a little bit. But on a lot of tracks, if you're not going to chuck a backy into, say, the final corner, because if you do cook it and you end up a little bit, out of throttle or whatever, you're going to be judged harshly on that because your line now was no longer a perfect 100-point qualifying run, and you've just handed the win to the chase car.
Yeah.
And then it's your job to, as the higher qualifier now, to go and try and get that back. I guess a good example of this change is IDC and BDC's move to the one more run.
Yeah.
You see a lot of guys now. Originally, when it came in, and it made me laugh a little bit at High Tech when they first did it, and they did it for time constraints.
Yeah.
Was a lot of people thought the best place to be is in the chase, because if I can door that person, then I'm going to win. But when you're trying to balance up scores, you're talking about who did their job better. So when you're doing your one more run, you only get, where in a traditional battle you do, they called it one more time, you do a run in front and a run behind, and you just run the whole battle all over again. Yep. Where under this one more run, the higher qualifier gets to choose, do I want to go in front or do I want to go behind? I've got one shot at this. So they're judging who did their job better. So to start with, a lot of people, and I saw it at High Tech, went, I can do the chase better than the lead because I can show that I can get close. But all that it takes to lose that in the chase position is for the lead car to do a perfect qualifying run or a really good qualifying lead run. And if you made any sort of bobble or any sort of mistake in the chase, unless you had your front wheel rubbing the door or the B-pillar on the lead car, you're going to lose that battle because the person in the lead has done a better job at their position.
Yeah.
And it was funny to see that. And then after a round or two of that happening, I think in both competitions, people started to go, holy crap, if I can qualify number one, I'm better off jumping up in the lead position putting down a smoking hot run because now it's harder for the chase car. But in saying that, when you then flip the roles over, again, that pressure in a traditional battle where you've had a go in front and a go behind, the pressure then is always on that lead car to be putting down that perfect qualifying run before the judges even start to really look at the chase car. Because if somebody is doing all sorts of sloppy stuff, or
I think it depends on how it's run, but you can there are some comps where there's a judge watching each, like one watching the chase and one watching the lead, and there's one sort of watching the
floating
battle
between the both.
Yeah. So I don't know how High Tech was run, but yeah.
No, I have no idea how the judging worked with that side of things, but you sort of start to see where I'm coming from with the lead does start to lose some of that flair because it really is now about perfect precision rather than risk.
Yeah, but risk can be rewarded.
Risk can be rewarded, but when you're talking about a knockout format, if it was a round robin-y sort of thing where you could make up for your mistake, I guess in a speedway situation or a Bathurst 1000, you can have an accident early in the day or early in a race where you spin, but there's so many factors that can bring you back into back into a shot of the podium or back into a top 10 position or a top 5 position, where in drifting, one mistake can be enough that, after 2 20-second runs that you're back on the trailer and you're done for the weekend.
That could happen.
So you start to take a little less risk, especially when in some of these series you start to talk prize money, sponsorship deals, all that sort of stuff. There's a whole lot more starts to come into those calculations compared to away from competition, your normal practice days where you can just go and throw the car in as hard and as fast and as crazy as you want. And I guess that's
Yeah.
where the media and the following sort of loses a bit of the impact of drifting, because you're now starting to watch a motorsport or just a sport in general that people are making or attempting to make a living off, or even just trying to cover the costs of that event by doing well in that event. So they start to drive more calculated, a little bit. You don't drive 110%. You sort of dial it back to your safe 95 zone. To get to that, a really good 95 zone, as somebody who's done high level sport, during practice you go 110, 120%, and you try and maintain that every day. And then for competition, so that range of above 100% will slowly grow your skill level and it will get higher. So when you do dial it back to your 95%, that's still a really high level, where if you never actually push those boundaries, your 95 will always stay really low. If you sort of are getting what I mean by that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So what?
Just
Yeah.
don't ask me to repeat it again, because I don't think I could.
Yeah. I guess if I try and I've probably made it too complicated. I guess if you add 1% to your balance every day. So if you started with 10 and you increased it by 10% every day, and you added 1 to that every single day, and that balance grew, but somebody just didn't add 10%. They always hung out just below that, and they were adding nothing to that basket. When they draw theirs back by 5% to be in their safe zone, but I've added 10% every practice day, and I pull mine back, they're still sitting at their 10 range, and I could be up in my 50s or up in my hundreds. And that's where those guys who are pushing themselves every day in practice increase their skill levels, where people who just play it safe maintain that slightly lower level. Even if they do feel like they're pushing themselves, they might not actually be pushing themselves. And so I guess that's, again, is where some of the flair has gone. Yeah, these guys are crazy good. Like a James Dean can throw it backwards and can do all these sort of amazing, crazy things. But in the moment, I can guarantee that he would be just below what is 100%, because he's there to maintain, to do a job, to achieve what he wants to achieve out of it.
Yeah,
and
I think they might pull it out for that one more run type situation.
Yeah, in those situations where you really have to bring it, or in a one more time or something, and you've got to make that big difference. Or if, I guess, the guy's a little bit lower skilled and knows that I have to bring it to go against this guy.
It sounds a little bit like you.
For sure. That's how my qualifying runs were. You just sort of make that decision in time. But again, because I've come from a background in sport where I understand that that's what it sort of takes. But for a lot of people, they don't have that understanding of it. But again, I guess that's where your practice days and your practice sessions can be so much cooler than your competitions. But again, what we get exposed to is competition, because competition is mainstream. And I guess what people are pushing for, because there's more money behind it, there's sponsorship that's putting it in your face, where I guess some of the spastic things that you guys go and do at Wakefield and all that is way less mainstream. You might get a 5-second clip of it that goes viral for a few days, and people are like, yeah, that's super cool. But they don't go, hey, that's Eiji from Team Red Stage. It's sort of like, hey, did you see that crazy car do that mental entry? I guess one of the good examples is Frederick Osbo's huge entry at Gapville, where he takes out like a whole bunch of the signs and runs through the dirt. Yeah, like that thing went huge viral, and that's sick. Like that stuff is absolutely mental, and that's 100% the drifting that you're defining, just on absolute steroids. A huge amount of that fly zone. He doesn't. Yeah, I guess he'll know if he's going to make the corner, but he's taking huge risk in doing it. But that stuff is super cool. But again, like that isn't your mainstream, because that's not where all your sponsorship dollars are going into being put in people's faces. It's sort of we just get the competition stuff, and that, I guess, in a lot of ways is what has changed the face of what drifting really means as well.
Yeah, I think it's easier for people to understand, as in people, as in everyone in
General
general.
public.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to understand a comp rather than even because the gut bill's a pretty big event and there is non-drift people there because they like
Yeah.
motorsport, but that's still not as huge as the general public. So
Yeah. And that's a motorsport culture. Like that's a country that's prides itself on rally and all that sort of stuff. So they have a good motorsport culture already. Where
yeah,
somewhere like here we have a bit of a motorsport culture, but at the moment we are fairly heavily against
yeah,
anything that's I guess anything to do with cars really. So
yeah. It's quite different here, I think, compared to I've only been to Japan
I
in
guess
terms
even
of car
even
stuff. So
yeah, I guess even New Zealand where they're you can import anything and pretty much drive a lot of things on the street. So they're a little bit more willing, and I think that's why their series survived a little bit better than or a lot better than ours did here.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, so I guess we've rambled a lot in this episode, but I guess it does show a bit of the confusion as to where drifting is sort of at.
hopefully it makes sense to someone,
Yeah,
to most
yeah,
people, and a
yeah.
lot of
Hopefully,
people listen to it. Share the
yeah,
video of the podcast, sound,
yeah,
whatever.
and I guess if people want clarifications on some of our points, or to tell me in particular that I'm totally full of shit and I've got no idea what I'm talking about,
Oh, you can say that about me as well. That's fine.
yeah, yeah. But like, throw us the feedback. I think this is a discussion that there will potentially be multiple episodes on along the line as we speak to more and more people. Eiji wants to do some mass education of people about this sort of topic, and he's got some ideas in mind. So I can't wait to see what he's got in store with that, and hopefully I can be part of some of it.
Well, this
And
will be part of it, and
yeah,
it's very simplistic. It's really uh, if people can start off with this sort of type of view, then I think it would change the culture a little bit,
yeah,
and then it'll start to change more and more. But some of it I think is heavily set in, so I don't think it will change in some aspects. So
yeah, and change doesn't happen overnight for a lot of it, and also I think all forms of it have their place, and like anything, in different parts of the world and even in different subcultures, you're going to have a slightly different take on it. Every culture in the world has some form of dance, but dancing all over the world is completely different from country to country. And so drifting has sort of taken that as well, because it is an open to interpretation style of driving, whereas a drag racing is, you can't really interpret drag racing any other way than you can change the cars, but at the end of the day you're running in a straight line over a set distance, and it is what it is. But for this, there is so many ways to interpret it and so many ways to, I guess, to do it, and there are different reasons as to why that is happening. So yeah, hit us with your feedback on this. This is one that would be great to debate more, and what people feel is having an impact on the sport, and what is the changing face of drifting. I guess, I'm interested in seeing what people's views on it. I'm not sure how much you're interested in hearing that FD is drifting, but
I will probably read it, and then if
if you're going to give
try
us
and keep myself open, but
yeah,
if it's wrong, if I think it's wrong, then I'm just gonna say I disagree with it.
And Eiji and I had this discussion before we started casting. If we're going to have a reason for something, it has to be justifiable. Don't just throw
Because
it's crap because it's crap.
Yeah.
Think about it, come up with a solution for it, and then have a say about it. And I think it can really open the eyes of what we're all trying to achieve, and what we all want more than anything, which is the sport to continue to grow in a way that we have more access and more acceptance from the wider public, so that we can drive more people understand it more when you know when you want to go and get some sponsors because you want to compete or you want to create more online content or social media content, that you can go to a sponsor and say, hey, I'm a drifter, rather than them going, oh, you do burnouts in the local intersection, you're a bloody nuisance, I can hear you from my house. They go, oh yeah, that's, cool, the culture's great, it's something we're really interested in being part of. So I think this is the sort of thing where it starts, and it has to start from to find its feet in becoming, it has become mainstream and people are using the word more and more, but now we need it to be used correctly.
Yes, it needs to be used correctly. You said it right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Agree completely.
Oh, jeez, I'm gonna fall out of my seat. I just, oh. Did Eiji just say he agreed with me completely? So, yep, I think that sort of wraps us up on this one. I'm not sure what we're going to do next week, because Wednesday night next week, hopefully will be up in Newcastle on my way to Archerfield before QR Matsuri. But you're going to be
in Newcastle.
Yeah, because I'm going to try and get a couple of hours up the road so that we can leg it to Archie by 2 or 3 o'clock to do Archerfield before on the Thursday afternoon before QR Matsuri. Are you coming?
To where?
Archerfield?
No, I'll be. Is it Thursday?
Yeah.
No, I'll be driving to Newcastle.
Okay.
Thursday night. I'm leaving after work, and then drive to Newcastle, stay in Newcastle for the night, then head up to Queensland on the Friday.
Yeah. So up there, hopefully, compared to DCA where I broke the car and then didn't do any extra content, Eiji did a little bit of stuff. He's got a kind of cool, pretty cool video on the Team Red Stage page that he put up yesterday of some in-car from his car when he was driving over the weekend, and just some out-of-car footage. I'm presuming that was your stuff.
Oh, yeah. On YouTube, wasn't it?
Is it on YouTube?
I don't think I put it on Facebook. I was going to put it on Facebook today, but I forgot.
Okay. Have a look for that. You also see Steve from an episode or two ago crash Eiji's car in the wall. So go have a look at that and give it, hit Steve up and tell him he needs to pay for the damage on Eiji's car. And yeah, so up in QR, up at Queensland, hopefully we can do some non-competition stuff.
Yeah, I actually have an idea. I want to do it DCA, but it didn't quite happen. But because I don't have that sort of responsibilities at QR, then we could probably do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But when do you want to do the next cast?
We'll either do Tuesday night, I would imagine, or we might, depending on who's up there, maybe we'll sit down and try and do a one-on-one over the weekend while we're up there, similar to what we did with Steve. But we'll see how we're going.
Oh, okay.
I think this weekend in New South Wales we also have the first round of Rally Drift Championship. So if we can get one of the judges, which we potentially would be able to here,
that's a good idea. Yeah.
Early next week to see, because they are in a rebuilding stage this year after a few changes in the background and some power sort of swapping hands. So yeah, we might try and grab one or two of those guys to jump on this early next week. So before we go up, and then we'll try and do some stuff while we're up at QR, and then we'll be able to speak about some non-competition things, because we will have been to a non-competition event.
I've been to lots of non-competition stuff.
Just not lately though. We've been a little bit dry on the non-competition stuff. So hit us up with your feedback. If you can, please share this stuff. I know this sounds like the end of any YouTube video, but no, really, if you share it, it goes a bit further. We're not making any money out of it. We're purely just trying to give all of it a bit of a voice. And if you want to have a voice, get in contact with us. We're more than happy to hear some of it, and Eiji will more than happily delete some of it. So,
I'm not going to deny that.
So yeah, definitely get in touch with us. We could try and retarded high five, but I'm probably not going to do it very well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're getting better at this. That was really quick.
Am I there?
Yeah, you're like perfect.
Oh, boom!
Yeah.
Right, 3, 2, 1, back and slap.
Need a noise. It's so weird without a noise.
Oh, that's all right, but we did it.
Okay,
That
cool.
worked.
That was
And
quick. That was way too quick.
yeah, we're getting too good at this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. This probably went longer than we thought it would probably go, but it's not too bad in length. It didn't go the 2 hours that people were predicting because we keep getting longer. And I said,
come on. We're very similar normally, recently.
yeah, that's what I thought. So, yep, we'll try and do some up at QR. We're going to have some more chats. There are some topics we want to work on. We were being a little bit drift hungover from DCA and getting ready for QR Matsuri. So, decisions on content have been a little bit funny, but hopefully we'll keep getting better at it. If you have ideas, throw them at us. And, yeah, share this, share the page. And, yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.
Cool. Well said, Greg.
Bye, guys.
Gerg. See you later.
Good.
Bye.